I do appreciate everyone's time at the moment, jumping on board. I am a minute or so behind the 8 ball, but I can see that we've got a number of people still joining us. So while I just give a very, very quick introduction as to what we'll be doing today, we'll just allow a few more people to jump on board. But as I said, firstly, thank you so much for jumping on board, sharing your time or giving us your time to be able to talk to you in this format and hopefully let everyone know a bit more about what's been going on in the past week or less than a week. As I've said previously, everything that's going on in our world currently is rapidly progressing and changing week by week, day by day, and at times hour by hour. Only in the last 5 minutes, I got some further information in relation to Jobkeeper and how the state government are going to view Jobkeeper as well. So there's some interesting information coming through. If you will bear with us, we can explain a fair bit more about it to your benefit, hopefully, and answer a few more queries. There are a lot of questions out there in the environment at the moment. So I can see there's a number have just joined us in the last couple of minutes. So thank you for that. As well as that, I do appreciate everyone taking the time to sit with us today. Today will only be hopefully an hour. I am going to try and limit it to an hour, including Q&A at the end. And also I do appreciate it's a short week. We have Easter coming up and everyone's time is precious at the moment. So very conscious of that. And in that spirit, I will kick off very quickly. You will see, hopefully, that I'm joined by my colleague, Claude Colliker. Claude's senior manager with our firm, has been for more years than I'd like to remember or to think about, but he will be chiming in as well. So we are pairing up today to give you our combined advice as well as combined knowledge as well as that of our collective team, who are all sitting around the place as we're all working remotely, but they are all contributing to not only helping our clients, but also updating our FAQs as we list on our website. If you have any questions, please jump on there and we might be able to answer that for you. So what I will do is, and hopefully everyone can see not only Claude and my ugly mugs, but also our introduction screen. Today's webinar is about what you need to know and do right now. And that's why we thought we'd better jump on this before everyone breaks for Easter. As I said, Claude and I are running this, but I do know that we have Jethro and Victoria and Michael and Rob and a few other people in the office on board as well, who can chime in and help us out if we need some backup. Today, just a little bit of housekeeping. We have muted everyone just to keep the background noise to a minimum. If for some reason there is anyone who unmutes, we don't take offence, but we will mute you again just to keep everything flowing along. As I said, after the presentation, we will open up to a Q&A, but it will be via the chat function rather than having people chime in. Because we have a large number on board today, it's best if you've got a question, please raise it via the chat function as we go through, or perhaps wait until we've covered some of the questions that we'll run through as well. So that is how we'll operate. And after the session as well, we will be providing not only the PowerPoints that you see on your screen, but also a recording. So please feel free to go through that, raise any questions, come back to us. And if you think it's appropriate, share it with colleagues, friends, family. Claude, you're happy for us to kick off?
Yeah, absolutely, Calvin. I think we're all good to go.
Okay, no problem. Look, our agenda is very straightforward. As we said earlier, what you really need to be doing right now. That's the very first thing we'll talk about, and that's very simple, guys. I'll come to that shortly. The other hot topic for everyone at the moment is Jobkeeper. Okay, Jobkeeper has, even in the last couple of days, broadened and become more widespread, but at the same time become more complex. So we'll be chatting about that. Access to bank funding. A lot of people are curious about this, what they need to do, what they can do, what is best for them and their business. Tax planning and cash flow forecasting. Again, we've touched on this previously. We'll have another brief chat about that, give you some guidance. And then we'll look at frequently asked questions, which are coming up time and time again. Again, in the last half hour, I had another client who is a long-term client, but he raised almost word for word the exact same questions that Claude and I get asked probably hourly and have done over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So we're trying to answer questions in this leveraged way, if possible, via webinar, so that we can spread the message, spread the information, and hopefully give you some guidance along the way. Finally, as always, we're not only here business and wealth, but we are here to help you. I know that sounds corny, but as I said, we're all working remotely, but we are still accessible, not quite 24/7, but you know, during business hours and outside of those hours, sadly for some of us, to help you in your business. So nothing has changed as far as we're concerned. We have remote capabilities. We have actually, you know, quiet time right now. I'm sort of locked away so that no one's interrupting me. All of the usual people you work with in our office are still available to you. So we'll chat about that as we conclude. Okay, so the very first item that we want to talk about, and we can't stress this enough, is you need to be acting. You need to be taking action right now in relation to your business and your personal affairs. Okay, a big part of that is, and we've got it right up front, is you need to be obtaining professional accounting and taxation advice in order to access the full cash benefits that you are entitled to. The government have been extremely generous. You now need to assess what you are entitled to, and you do need to take professional advice on that from people who know. Now, as I said earlier, we are spending a lot of time and resources making sure we know what you are entitled to and helping you get access to it. We continue to get stories of, oh, my mate told me I should do this, or my brother-in-law has already received this. There's a lot of misinformation out in the marketplace. So we want to bring it back to factual knowledge and advice. That's really where we come from. So we will tell you what we don't know, and we'll be very honest with you in that regard. But we will tell you what we do know as well. And at the moment, I can honestly say we know a lot about what's going on. So we want you to talk to us. We want you to take advice. And we want you to actually work with us or work with your appropriate advisor so that you're getting the right information for your business, because there is the potential to miss out on certain things if it's not done right. Okay, so the very first point there is get in touch with us. If you need help, we are here to help you. Okay, we have a broad team with various capabilities and skills, and we have certain people who just love reading legislation and pulling it to bits. I'm not one of them. However, I have been through almost 200 pages of legislation that went through Parliament yesterday, so that's why I might look a bit bleary-eyed. But please be in touch with us. Claude's the same. He looks a bit cheerier, but he's got that ethnic glow in his skin that makes him look a bit fresher faced than I am, but he is actually older than me, surprisingly.
Not quite.
So look, please talk to us. And critically at the moment, the most important thing that you can be looking at right now is your Q3 business activity statement. You need to be taking care of that right now in order to access certain incentives from the government, in particular the cash boost payments and the incentives that they're going to give you. Now, we talked about that in detail last week and even more so the week before, I believe. So we have plenty of information on the cash boost, but critically that is triggered by lodgement of your March BAS. So you must pay that your immediate or give it your immediate attention so that you can access these things. And some of them, we're seeing some BASs that have been prepared that are actually cash positive. Okay, so if you're a monthly lodger for PAYG withholding, you can actually get money back from the tax department currently. That's correct, Claude, isn't it? We're seeing that already.
Yeah, absolutely, Calvin. So in short, if you're overall account goes into credit after applying the various credits that you're entitled to for your PAYG tax withheld. Then you can request a refund of that amount via the ATO. So yeah, absolutely correct.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And as I said, in the past week, we have gone hell for leather to try and get business activity statements prepared and lodged. If you're a current client of ours and you haven't already gotten information to us that we need, or you haven't come back to us after we've contacted you, please, 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 I encourage you to do that today. Okay, we might not get to it today if we only get it this afternoon, but next week we will work hard, and we are working very hard, our team, to get business activity statements lodged urgently. And again, normally we have 2 months up our sleeves. I'm trying to get all these done in the next 2 weeks if we can. So please talk to us, get in touch with us, seek assistance, and some of these lodgements as well determine your ability to access other benefits. So please keep it in mind. The third point we've got on here is taxation planning. Okay, now you might say the world's gone to hell in a handbasket. Why do I need to plan for tax? Okay, now tax planning is our generic a generic term used for planning for year end in your business. And this is something we do with a large number of our clients between now and 30 June. And Claude in particular has driven a lot of this with our clients, whereby normally we're working with you to say, what does your income look like year to date? What is it likely to look like for the full year? What do we need to do to optimize your tax position for this current financial year? Now, as I said, some people are going to say, I'm not going to have a tax problem because I won't be paying much tax, or I've already covered it. It's just as important, if not more important now, to make sure we're across what your taxable position looks like for the financial year. Because again, even in this morning, Claude and I were looking at our own business activity statements, whereby we're projecting forward to see what sort of income tax instalments we should be having on the shelf for the financial year, and in particular in relation to Q3. Because if income has fallen off the cliff, or if it's gone through the roof, you need to be across these sorts of things. So Claude, perhaps you can talk a bit more about the other aspects of taxation planning, income planning, basically year-end planning that we do.
Sure, Cal. So I suppose, and we'll talk a bit more about this later on in the slides, but just very generally, like Calvin mentioned, yeah, with everything that's happened in the last few weeks, a lot of businesses and clients, for that matter, are expecting profit levels to significantly reduce from a prior year. But the big thing for us is, and I would like to think that we wouldn't have the need to implement as many tax planning strategies as we normally do this year. However, the big thing that I see will happen is that already clients have paid, if you're on quarterly income tax installments, whether you're a company or even at an individual level, you pay quarterly tax installments. You already would have made payments for the September quarter, December quarter, and now also the March quarter. And that's always directed by the ATO, either by a fixed amount or they give you a percentage based on your income for the quarter. And it could well be with tax planning, we do a full year projection and we see, right guys, you might have earned income that's lower than previous year, fair enough. However, your tax obligation is already covered by the first 2 or 3 quarters of tax installments that you've already paid. So therefore, you've got the ability to vary the June quarter installment at the very least, if not March as well, down to 0. So again, it's all about preserving cash. If you don't have to pay the ATO your June tax installment amount, it's better to have money in your pocket, because who knows what's going to happen in the next 3 to 6 months. That we're always going to need cash to run our businesses. So that'll be the main drive of tax planning for us this year, I'd imagine.
Okay, thanks, Claude. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. It is still very important that you consider this. We will talk on it and touch on it a bit further down the track when we talk about cash flow forecasting. But importantly, for everyone that's in business, you need to be considering your own personal tax position. So keep that in mind. I'm happy to come back to it or take questions later if there are still queries in relation to it. So right now you need to do those three things. 1, take advice. 2, complete your Q3 BAS. And 3, start planning for year end. Okay, critically important for businesses right now. The next area we want to talk about is Jobkeeper. Jobkeeper is, as I said, it is the hot topic. Federal government sat yesterday. They sat down, I think, at 10 o'clock yesterday morning. By last night, they'd passed the legislation, almost unheard of when it comes to any form of stimulus package, income tax package, anything like that to do with the government. Mostly bipartisan support. So they have pushed it through as quickly as possible so that this can be fast-tracked and money can get out there into the business environment, into the economy, more importantly. Critically important to this is, and I have explained it this way previously, the federal government have looked at it to say, we cannot have a rush on our Centrelink offices as we had a couple of weeks ago. So we will make all of you employers out there private Centrelink offices. So that's effectively what they're attempting to do, is to say, don't put people off, don't sack them, make them redundant, continue to employ them. We will pay you to employ them at this level. So it is a very straightforward process. Unfortunately, they have handed responsibility for this process to the Australian Taxation Office, and that's where it could potentially get complex. However, we are getting good noises out of the ATO already as to how it will be rolled out. So bear with us on this as well. We are gleaning from this what we can. There are certain aspects that we just don't know the mechanics of it, but we will tell you what we do and don't know as we walk through it. So if you can bear with me for the moment before any questions get raised, we'll step through the process of who's entitled to it and how it will work. Okay, so as we said, there's $130 billion they've set aside for this. And the details of it are, you will qualify for this, and I will qualify my comments by saying, we'll talk about this a bit more in a moment, but it is effectively available to the majority of businesses where their turnover has fallen by more than 30% over a period of at least a month. Okay, so you can't say it fell in the last week by 30%. It has to be at least a month or a quarter. Now, again, the ATO has been given provision in all of this to assess this as they see fit. So, but the basics of it are, if your income or your turnover has dropped by 30% or more, you will qualify. Okay, if you qualify as a business on that basis, then you will be entitled to $1,500 per fortnight per eligible employee. And there's a definition of what an eligible employee is as well. So we can deal with that shortly. And it is backdated to the 30th of March 2020. Okay, it will last for 6 months. So they've given the date of 27th of September this year when it will cease, but they will continue to pay over that period. And the first payments will be made by the ATO on the 1st of May 2020. That effectively means that they are going to pay in arrears. So the important thing is to ensure that A, you qualify, B, you have employees that qualify, and C, you register. We'll talk about that shortly as well. But this is going to be in arrears, so that raises its own issues for many businesses out there. And payments will also stop if an employee ceases employment. So hopefully they're the headline items that we need to be conscious of. I want to now dig into a bit more detail, if that's okay, and expand upon it, because employers also extends to self-employed people. And again, the government and Treasury keep referring to sole traders. However, that's a bit of a misnomer, because a sole trader is a particular type of legal entity, whereas when they refer to sole traders, they're broadening it out to include people who are individuals or even husband and wife who run a business under various different structures, they will be entitled to this. So we'll give you a bit more detail as well on that shortly. So self-employed, people who are self-employed will be eligible for the payment as long as they meet the criteria. However, an individual can only receive JobKeeper payments from one source, so you can't double dip. And similarly, if you are an employee and you're a sole trader, you can't say, I'm a sole trader, so I'm entitled, and I'm also an employee. So you will only be entitled to it the one time. Okay. Partnerships as well, and this is what I was saying earlier. Sole trade, they refer to sole trader, but if you're in a partnership, so husband and wife, brother and sister, even two mates in business, there is an entitlement to JobKeeper, but only for one partner. Okay, so one partner can say, all right, I'll nominate myself, and hopefully this doesn't cause any partnership disputes, but it basically means one partner is entitled to JobKeeper payments. Employers as well, trusts are included in this eligibility criteria. So again, if you operate your business through a trust, if you are a paid employee and on the payroll, then you're automatically included. However, if you don't pay yourself a wage through your trust, but you just take a profit distribution at the end of the year, you will also be entitled to JobKeeper payment. So similarly, it's important that you make sure you put your hand up and show that you are qualified. Companies, in a similar vein, if you are a director in a company but you don't take a wage, you are similarly entitled to JobKeeper. So I'm glossing over some of the detail that we've put here, but we've done that intentionally so that if you need to, you can go back and actually refer to these notes. And if you're still unsure, ask further questions. So keep that in mind, but I want to simplify it by saying it is just not employees who are entitled to these sorts of payments. If you are similar to a partnership, as I said earlier, you can't have 5 beneficiaries in a trust all nominating to be entitled to it. And same with companies, you can't have 3 directors all putting their hand up. It is one of each, one in each circumstance. Okay, so as it says there, company and eligible business can nominate only one director to receive the payment. So again, it's trying to get some money down to these businesses who are struggling, keeping in mind that these are all businesses that have declined in revenue by 30%. So hopefully that has clarified a few queries that people may have. Shareholders as well, it is similar to the director. If you are only normally remunerated via dividends as a shareholder in a company, you are entitled. But again, on the same basis that you can't be a director and a shareholder, you can't double dip in any of these. The ATO are going to be across that. So they will be keeping on top of it. This is an interesting one, landlords that are not registered as a business. And we've shown the negative of this. Only businesses with employees or self-employed people are eligible for the JobKeeper payment. So if you have a business that is just passively invested in property, then you're not entitled to it. However, if that is your business of being a commercial landlord or similar, you are entitled to it as well. This is some of the specifics that we don't have the detail on, but it is our reading of the legislation currently that allows us to understand these sorts of contexts. So ask questions later on, whether during the session or subsequent to it, but just keep that in mind. The important part here, everyone, is that don't just assume that you don't qualify. We want people to work on the basis that they will qualify in some way if their revenue has declined. Importantly as well, even if you think, oh, have we only declined 20%? Have we declined 10%? Have we declined at all? My personal view, and I'm giving this advice to a lot of clients, is just register. There's nothing to be lost by registering, because the process that the ATO will follow is that they will come back to you and say, okay, Mr. Business Person, you've registered for Jobkeeper. Tell us what's going on in your business. Has revenue declined? Yes, no, or maybe. And the no is, not necessarily a hard no, because we're seeing that the Commissioner of Tax also has a discretion to accept other circumstances. So the ATO will do their best to make this difficult. However, we are prepared to work with you to assist you to qualify for these sorts of concessions. So please, right up front, follow the registration process. The other critical parts are that the ATO will come back to you, because with simplified taxation, sorry, Claude, correct me, what's STP stands for?
Single touch payroll.
Single touch payroll. I get it confused with something else all the time. The ATO already know that you employ people, okay? So they know who you've got on the books. They know whether you get a wage or whether you don't. So the critical thing is, if you register, they will come back and say to you, we see you've got these employees. Are there any more? Should you have less? And do you qualify? So please, I encourage you, if there's nothing else from this session today, go and register today, unless your business has gone through the roof and you know you won't qualify. However, just as importantly, if you are a sole trader, a partnership, a trust, a company, and you don't take a wage and you've declined, still register, and they will follow this same process. Okay, so hopefully that is making sense. We have linked on the slideshow where you go to register. Okay, so it's straightforward. Once you get this, click on this link, it'll take you to the website. And it's a very, very simple process. You don't need to tell them turnover, employees or anything. ABN, business name, your name, email address. Okay, ATO will then come back to you. I've also had the question raised, March was a great month for me because we were still going gangbusters, but April we've fallen in a hole. My advice currently would be still register. However, even if you don't register, there will be we're told, an online application process to register subsequently. So you might not get paid for April wages, you might not get paid for May, but you may need it for June, July, August and September. So keep that in mind. And eligible employers, importantly, will need to tell their employees that they're subject to this. So keep that in mind also. Some of the detail is yet to come out, how you'll go about this. We know in working with Xero that they're potentially making changes to their payroll module to be able to allow that to take place. And employers must provide monthly updates to the ATO. So it's not a set and forget. You must keep letting the ATO know where you're at. And employers must provide eligible employees at a minimum with $1,500 per fortnight. So this is a bit of a win for some people out there. I know particularly where some of us have got, teenage children that work and they might only get $400 a week, as long as they're 16. I think it's 16 and over. But as long as they qualify as an eligible employee, they effectively get a pay rise. Okay, so keep that in mind also, as long as they qualify as full-time or part-time or casuals over a period of time. So it's also the employer's decision to pay super on additional amounts paid. So that will become voluntary, as I understand it, by the employer. But the basics of this are, you must pay super on wages that you do pay normally to an employee. So that's under the SGC. Okay. This is really in relation to what we will need to do. And this is where there's a bit of uncertainty at the moment. However, we're taking from Treasury what we know. Okay, so Claude, you might want to run through this part currently as to what we're seeing as being required.
Yeah, absolutely, Kelvin. So as Kelvin mentioned previously, the registration process is fairly straightforward. You jump on that link that was in the previous slide. You provide just very basic information, being your name, your contact details, your business name and ABN. Then when the ATO comes around to contacting you, and we're told it should happen within 2 weeks' time, although, and I'm not aware of the ATO having contacted many clients as yet. As you can imagine, they would be processing millions of these applications. But that's when they will say, okay, as a starting point, are you as a business eligible for the Jobkeeper payments? And that's where you would have to prove that your turnover has reduced by 30%. And like the slide says, it's a comparative to a 12-month period previously. However, and it's my belief, and I think Kelvin shares the same view, that if you didn't meet it from 12 months ago, yet you met it, say, last quarter or last month, I believe the Commissioner will try and make as many businesses eligible for this as possible, specifically if you know that in the next month or two, you will hit that 30%. So it's all based as a starting point compared to a 12-month period last year. However, there will be discretion and a bit of wriggle room, I believe, to prove otherwise. And if that's the case, you just might need to put forward a case of why your turnover has decreased by 30%, maybe not from 12 months ago, but from last month or last quarter. Then we believe you would still qualify as an eligible business to receive the JobKeeper payments.
Spot on, Claude. We're taking the view, the ATO have been given the directive that it relates to your BAS periods.
Yep.
However, that's a very strict interpretation. We're in the same instance told there's a discretion offered to the Commissioner. So my view is that if your revenue is down by 30% month on month with the same time last year being March 20 versus March 19, or quarter on quarter, again, March quarter 2020 versus March quarter 2019. And I would extend that further as an arguable position to say, if it is year to date down 2020 up to March and 2019, I would be making application to the ATO. So again, we can work with you in this process. We have the capabilities with Xero and other, cloud accounting packages to be able to assess this reasonably quickly. However, there will be a process that we're given to work through making this application if it's not cut and dried. So consider it strongly. Consider it in light of what your income was for March this year. And if it is, we've seen some clients that have had their best months ever. They're just in an environment where they've gone really well because of the circumstances. However, their businesses similarly are going to drop off the cliff in April and May. So it's not, you're either in or out. It's a moving target for you. So please keep across all of these factors and keep it in mind. Okay, I go back to lodging your BAS as well. That's a critical determinant to all of this. So get that done. Similarly, get some forward planning going as well within your business. So really, that's Jobkeeper. We've got a lot of questions on Jobkeeper we'll address shortly, but I'm going to leave Jobkeeper there for the moment because now I do want to talk about something else that's critical, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. The area I do, actually I've referred to that, the Commissioner having discretion, sorry. Bank funding, okay? A lot of people are saying, I keep hearing about the bank giving me money, lending me money, getting me access to it. The banks have been given a lot of support by the federal government to lend money to businesses to get them through this, okay? So a big part of the push is the government have actually co-guaranteed any of these new borrowings under the current circumstances. So they've effectively said to the banks, open your lending books, make it easier, make it simpler, make it less costly, and we will guarantee any debts that go bad. Okay, we'll guarantee it with you 50-50. So they basically come to the party and said to the banks, we'll share the risk with you if this doesn't work. This has also evolved within the banks' world because the banks have said, okay, we understand that you want us to do that. And it took them a little while to get their wheels moving, but they have effectively, and all of the major banks, as well as some of the secondary banks, have all come to the party and they've given us certain terms that they will lend on, what it means, and they're all very similar terms. So you can see where it's all coming from because it's all government backed. But they are effectively looking to get money into small business or small and medium businesses over a 3-year period, potentially with 6-month holidays on repayments. at reasonable interest rates in order to help people get through this. Okay, so what we have summarised are just some snapshots of various banks, and I think we've got ANZ, CBA and the NAB. I didn't have anything current on Westpac, but I will refer you to our website where we've got a bit of a fact sheet on what the banks are currently doing. So if whoever you bank with, again, if you need bank funding, I would recommend you talk to your existing bank and or talk to us about what the options are, because there is still a process to go through in making these applications, albeit a lot simpler. But I would be talking to the bank. In the first instance, if you have existing facilities as well, all of the banks have also been told they must consider giving you repayment holidays and accruing interest. So that will effectively mean if you've got existing business debt, and the banks are doing the same to a degree with personal debts, but in relation to business debts, they will allow you 6 months holiday on making repayments. Having said that, the interest will continue to accrue. So please keep that in mind. You're not getting free money. That's one thing I must stress. The banks are not just handing out money via the government. Okay, the previous things we talked about, the boosting cash flow and Jobkeeper and Job Seeker, are effectively handouts from the government. The bank funding is not a handout. You must repay it. So just please understand that. So as I said, we've given you a bit of a summary on what ANZ are doing. These are very similar, but I would just thought we'd put these on here in case you bank, for example, ANZ. You've got a taste for what they are offering. Okay, but you can see here a new 3-year business loan up to 250K with a 6-month deferral on repayments, but interest will be capitalised. And similarly, a new 6-month business overdraft up to 250K. So I'm not going to dwell too much on this. Importantly, all the banks are saying lending criteria apply, as in you must be able to fund it, you must have a genuine business, those sorts of things. CBA, very similar, 250K, reasonable interest rates, no establishment fees. NAB, similar, 250K, guarantees. A lot of them talk about it must be for working capital, it must be to sustain your business through this period. One area in particular, Scott Morrison came out and he was asked a question in a press conference, how do businesses fund wages until Jobkeeper kicks in? His answer was, talk to your bank. Go to your bank and seek working capital funding. Okay, so please keep that in mind. The mortgage freeze, again, this is something we pulled together 2 or 3 weeks ago. There is a fact sheet that you can link to. I'm not going to jump to it, but it does deal with the big 4 banks. Have a chat to them. Additionally to that, if the big 4 banks can't help you, there are secondary lenders as well that are offering some really good deals at the moment. So if you're seeking that sort of financing, talk to us. Don't be afraid to come forward. We can put you in touch with our finance expert, John Correa, who is more than willing to talk to clients about those sorts of things. But internally, myself, Claude, Rob Marusco as well, all happy to have a chat to you about financing for your business and what's appropriate for you. So please keep that in mind. Commercial rent relief as well. We put this in here. This is only very new. Okay, so this came out a couple of days ago and we're told legislation will be arising within the next week. Easter has put a dent in a few things. But again, the government have come out and they've talked about negotiating in good faith, landlords and tenants. They are actually putting in place a framework that will be run through all of the state governments. However, they have dictated how it should work. Okay, so I have got a bit of detail on it here. In the within ourselves, we have a lot more detail as well. And if you are interested, I actually posted something on LinkedIn, I think yesterday or the day before, that summarises this quite well. So if you are following me on LinkedIn, or if you want to, jump on board, have a read of it. It is reasonably prescriptive. However, at the end of the day, the recommendation is landlords and tenants negotiate in good faith, negotiate on the basis of reductions and deferrals of rent. So if you're in this position, keep that in mind, because the ATO came out the government came out originally and said no one will get evicted and no one can be treated as conducting business whilst insolvent. However, that conflicted with certain other aspects, be it, lease contracts and other factors that need to be considered. So happy to chat to you about this. As I said, it's pretty fresh. It's still got to go through all the state parliaments. However, the government have been very strong on this with a view to ensuring that, we haven't got empty shops and offices all over town. However, at the same time, there is relief given to business. Okay.
I think, Kelvin, with the key point in that commercial rent relief is that it's in paragraph 2 there, that either the tenant or the landlord is eligible for Jobkeeper. So as long as one of them are, then you can start applying this rent relief package. Mm-hmm. So that's the key driver of this, that one of the tenant or landlord, doesn't have to be both, is eligible for the Jobkeeper program.
Okay. Thanks, Claude. That is a key to it. So, but I think at the same time, the overall context of it applies across the board. So it'll be interesting. I think the governments will come out and say, look, this is a new Tenancy Act. This is how it should operate. So come back to us on that. I am a bit conscious of time. We've been going 40 minutes and I know we have a lot of questions to run through. So if you bear with us a bit longer, we'll answer some questions, then we'll take some questions. So what I do want to run through now is a number of frequently asked questions, but in particular, a number that were raised in anticipation of this webinar. So thank you to everyone that raised these questions. If we don't answer your question, please come back to us. However, we've tried to either cover them earlier in the session or to cover them now. So if you still don't understand any things, please contact Claude, myself, the office. We'll answer them wherever appropriate. Okay. The very first question we had, are employees that are on paid or unpaid leave eligible for Jobkeeper? And that question has come up regularly over the last few days. The answer to it, and I thank Jethro, Michael, Claude, all the guys for pulling these answers together for us and simplifying things. So apologies for reading them off the page, but all eligible employees on paid or unpaid leave are entitled to Jobkeeper payments unless they're already receiving some form of government pay. Okay. And if your business is an eligible employer and the employee is also eligible, they will receive the payment whether working or on leave or they have been stood down. Okay, so keep that in mind. There's a lot of businesses that stood people down immediately. For example, hospitality, the fitness industry where there's gyms that had to stand their employees down. Keep that in mind. If that's you, you need to register, you need to notify your eligible employees, you need to act urgently. Okay. The next question, what happens if I don't have the money to continue paying my eligible employees? This is what I referred to earlier in the context of what Scott Morrison said. He basically said, go to your bank. Now, the critical part of this is not everyone is going to be able to go to their bank. However, you need to take steps to ensure your cash flow will allow you to survive. You need to maintain the employment of these people in some way. So, as we said earlier, the single touch payroll monitors and updates the ATO on who you employ, when you employ them, what you pay them. So please keep that in mind in relation to your business. A critical part of what we're working on with clients in particular is making sure that those clients have got a war chest of money and they build that in whatever way possible so they can get through to the end of this month, then the end of next month, then the end of 6 months. So talk to us about these sorts of things, okay? The response to this question is that Jobkeeper is a reimbursement, okay? So it's only after you've paid the wages that the ATO will say, great, you've paid those wages, now we will reimburse you. So keep that in mind. This is very important in relation to your planning for your business, okay?
Kelvin, another key point on this is because, as it's mentioned, that the ATO will pay you monthly in arrears, you need to process payroll for April.
Yes.
Because that then shows the ATO that you have done a pay run for all your employees, and that's then what will trigger the ATO to reimburse you $1,500 per employee. If you're sort of thinking along the lines of, oh, I haven't got the money now, so I'll just do it in May, you won't get paid by the government for another month. So you need to process payroll for the month of April. Otherwise, you'll be delaying it by another month.
Thank you for that, Claude. That is important. So what's your timing? What's your planning? All those sorts of things. We really want people to knuckle down and focus on their business and what's happening within it. The next question is, if a sole trader who employs no staff has been forced to temporarily close down due to regulation of community safety, how do we go about getting support? This is commonplace out there at the moment. There are a number of businesses that have been told they must close their doors. Okay. As we said earlier, if you're a sole trader, you're eligible for Jobkeeper. So you must register. All right. Again, I keep repeating myself. Registration is key to all of this. Okay. Your turnover has obviously fallen by 30% because you've closed the doors. So keep it in mind. A lot of the healthcare industry, beauty industry, gyms, hospitality, all those sorts of businesses have declined. Okay. There's some other critical factors here that you must consider as well. One of the other keys to all of this, and the ATO might use it as a bit of a sledgehammer, is there's reference to you having lodged your 2018-2019 tax return. Okay, so if you haven't also done that, get your skates on right now and get that done, because they could say, right, yes, you're eligible, yes, you have eligible employees, but we can't pay you until you lodge your tax return. They want all their ducks in a row before they make these payments. So don't be surprised if the ATO use that as their weapon of choice to make sure all lodgements take place and everything's in order. Okay, so keep it in mind. We have included a fact sheet. There's a number, if you're interested in reading a lot of jargon, but also getting some of the detail behind this. Some of them are simple, some are more complex. Treasury put out a number of fact sheets, as well as our own. We've tried to drill down to the important things that people are asking. We've got the link here to our website where we've got a number of questions that have been asked, and we're adding to them daily. Okay, so thanks to Serena, who keeps this up to date and deals with all of my requests at bizarre hours of the night and day. She is updating this constantly. So if you check it today, but you're unsure, go back tomorrow and have a look. Okay. The next question, as the director and sole person currently running my proprietary limited e-commerce startup business, am I entitled to Jobkeeper? This is an actual question, so that's why it's very specific. So thank you to, I can't recall who raised this question, but thank you. The answer, short answer, because I answered this one very quickly, is yes. Okay, you are eligible for this. If you meet all the other eligibility criteria, you need to apply and ensure you get this payment. Okay, so as it says, same as the previous answer, just follow your nose through the process, wait for the ATO to contact you and answer their questions. We're here to help if you need it. Excuse me. The next question is, I bought a business as a going concern on the 1st of July 2019, taking over full-time staff and appointing a couple of part-timers. Excuse me, my voice just started to go on me. Do my business and our employees qualify for Jobkeeper payments? Again, simple answer, yes, if the business meets all the eligibility criteria. Okay, full-time and part-time employees, including stood-down employees, are eligible for Jobkeeper. Casual employees are slightly different. They must have been employed over a period of time, and they've brought in this term of on a systematic basis. So again, keep an eye out for clarification. This is something that the Labor Party in particular pushed hard on. They wanted it more applicable to casuals because they're sorely impacted by a lot of this. So keep that in mind. But the answer is yes, you can. And the next question, what happens if the employees of a business are also the directors of the company with regard to Jobkeeper payments? Okay, so if you're already an employee, that's how you get Jobkeeper. If you're not an employee and you're a director and there's other directors, one director can receive this. Okay. In practice, if the employer is eligible for Jobkeeper scheme and all individuals are regarded as employees are eligible, each of those people will receive the payment. But as I keep saying, you can't double dip. ATO, Tax Practitioners Board, federal government, Treasury in particular, have been very, very direct with people such as ourselves. If you try and rort this system, they will come down like a ton of bricks on your head, ours and yours. Okay, so be very cautious about trying to go around what they're putting in place. Is Jobkeeper a better way to go than Job Seeker? This ventures into Centrelink advice almost. However, we've tried to keep it simple. Jobkeeper, on the face of it, is better than Job Seeker. Okay, assuming that everyone's eligible. Under Jobkeeper, you'll get $1,500 a fortnight. Again, we're not experts in Centrelink. However, under Job Seeker, you will get less. You will get a fortnightly payment of $565.70 plus the $550 supplement. However, having said that, you may get rental assistance, you may get other assistance along the way. So, but at the end of the day, the government's intent is that you will be better off staying employed and receiving Jobkeeper rather than going to Centrelink and getting Job Seeker. So I hope that answers a number of questions. That again was a live question, so an actual question. So thank you for that. I do know who answered that question, asked that question. So I'll be chatting to you later for making me think long and hard about that one. But we've tried to get an answer for you. So hopefully that satisfies you. The next question, in respect of Jobkeeper, when determining a reduction in GST income, can I use 1 month or must I use 3 months because we lodge quarterly? Again, on the face of it, it seems it'll be on your BAS period. However, if it doesn't show it on a quarterly basis, I would be looking to monthly, I would be looking to year to date annually. So stay in touch. The ATO are saying BAS period, depending on the BAS reporting of that business, as it says there, but talk to us or consider it. Where there's discretion available. Yeah, it's even come out that even if you apply and your business doesn't quite drop by 30%, but it does decline, then there is the ability to allow you to qualify as well. So that we're just trying to say, you must get on board with this. You must access it, grab it with both hands wherever possible. Okay. Just look at what you can possibly do. I am also trying to get confirmation that, and please don't hold me to this, everyone, and Claude might shake his head or roll his eyes at me, but my understanding is that these Jobkeeper amounts that will be paid to business could potentially be tax-free to that business. Okay. Now, I'm not seeing it categorically, but I've seen reference to it in other contexts. So keep that in mind. If that's the case, again, you must get hold of these so that you can employ your people, particularly where they're getting paid more than $1,500 a fortnight. Okay. So keep that in mind. Next question, at what point should business owners pull the trigger, deferring mortgage payments, applying for funding, given we don't know the time frame for recovery? That is a crystal ball question, guys. And unfortunately, my crystal ball's on the blink at the moment. It has been for the last month. This has accelerated so rapidly. We really don't know which way this is going. Best course of action, talk to us. We are working with a number of clients. Claude and I are rolling out 1 or 2 of these daily. It's probably a 1 to 2 hour session with clients where we actually look at what you are entitled to. We look at your cash flows. We look at assisting your business to get through. And importantly, we look at potential cash flow impacts on your business. Do you need assistance? What commitments have you got? Is it time to talk to your bank? And again, we can act on your behalf to talk to the bank if need be, but you need to be considering it right now. And in the early days where businesses were critical in the sense of cash flow, we were saying to people, talk to your bank today, talk to your landlord today, and talk to us today. You must talk to everyone to get the best possible outcome for you and your business. I mentioned it a second ago, business planning and continuity, more important than ever. Most businesses don't plan, what's even going to happen tomorrow, let alone today. They just rock up to the office and do the work that the business does. So we're very, very focused at the moment on business planning and continuity, which is where our BCP process comes from. So we just really encourage everyone to look at these 7 key areas: your cash, banks and funding, protection of assets, livelihood, well-being, your management team and your employees, customers and suppliers, and importantly, your mental health. This is tough times out there at the moment. So we're very conscious that a lot of people are doing it tough, and that's why we put this last. Everyone does need to be looking after themselves and each other. Okay, it is critical. Cash flow planning, we referred to this last week. I'm actually not going to go into detail on this. So I was going to bring up a template and go through some example scenarios. Important thing is, though, you need to be doing some cash flow planning. Similar to tax planning, year-end planning, you need to be looking at the cash flow in your business and understanding what it looks like over the next 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Critically important, people. You must do it. I mentioned mental health a moment ago, practical positivity. This is something that we pull together. And again, you'll get this, so I don't expect you to read this word for word, but it's just a couple of little tips to just bring you back to base and keep everyone focused on what's important, what you can do, what you should do. Okay, so we do talk about if you need to have a meltdown, do it. Claude and I both had clients in tears on the phone, on video calls. We've had people very upset, very angry, very stressed and anxious. Sometimes you just need to have a blow up and then move on. Okay, it can be good for yourself too.
Sorry, Calvin. I always encourage clients, if you need to have a rant, pick up the phone and give me a call. I won't take it personally. I won't judge you. If it helps you and gets it off your chest, then it's all good. So by all means, like it says there, just like probably Calvin and I, we probably ranted at each other, but it's probably done as good after 5 minutes. So
I can confirm Claude has copped a couple of bakes over the last couple of weeks, as have I. But similarly, more times than not, we've had people in tears, very upset, very uncertain. So we're trying to encourage people that we will get through this. Everyone is telling us we'll get through it. We don't know when, and we are starting to get an idea of how, but there is a future to all of this. So we need to think this isn't the end of the world. Okay, sadly, there will be sickness, there will be deaths, there'll be grief, there'll be financial pain, but we will, as a society, an economy, a country, we will get through this, and we want everyone to focus on that. And that's where some of our business planning comes from, to think, I can get through this. It's going to be tough for a while, but we'll get to the other side. Okay, so start to vision the other side. Similarly, scenario planning. We've talked about that. I'm not going to go into detail on that. Cutting back on costs, it seems obvious, but some people overlook certain factors. So please keep it in mind. Okay. Importantly, get your team around you. Okay. So that your team expands more broadly. I normally refer to a football team, but whatever sport you're involved in, think of what you do day to day as a team. Now that can be just you. It can be you and the dog. It can be you and your employees, your management team, but it also includes other people like your family, your partner, your kids. Your kids need to know what's going on because they're anxious as well. I know my children as well ask a lot of questions. They're not sure. So unless they get leadership and guidance from us, they will continue to stress, as will your team. And your immediate team, I refer to here, your employees. They need to know that you're across this, that you're dealing with it. You might not have all the answers, but you are doing your best to get through. Okay. Build back into the foundations. Have a look at what, now that things are potentially quiet for you, have a look at what you should be doing. What have you been neglecting for the last 6 months, 6 years? Consider what else you should be doing. A bit of marketing as well. I think I talked about that. Step up as a leader. I mentioned that. You do need to take leadership at the moment and show that you are actually going to get through to the other side. Explore your opportunities as well. Okay. A lot of people are looking at their businesses very differently these days. So keep that in mind. And marketing, again, no one's in the mood to cop all of the hundreds of LinkedIn messages, emails, all the rest of it in relation to ad hoc marketing. But think about where you can build a relationship, where you can offer a valuable service to people. Okay, just keep that in mind. So you will get these, read through them, happy to have a chat at any time. In relation to this positivity, I encourage you to sort of think long and hard about, what's important, think long term, and as I said earlier, step up as a leader as well. How we can help, I mentioned business continuity planning. This is an ongoing service that we are providing to clients. In particular, Claude and I are doing it, but also Michael and Jethro are involved in it. We are ably assisted by all of our team, but it usually involves a Zoom meeting with you, 1 to 2 hours. We work through a set process. We have an agenda, we have action points, and we step through those 7 critical areas of your business, okay? We can help you with this, so please, we encourage you to talk to us. Try and help you get through this and take the stress out of your lives, okay? Look, from our point of view, that's all I wanted to run through. I have actually just hit, I've just gone over 2 o'clock, so my apologies, I have run over time. So thankfully I haven't lost anyone, so that's good. I've kept everyone's attention despite possibly droning on for too long. So what I would like to do is very quickly, if we could, and if you'll bear with me, open up to any questions, and if we can, we'll answer those perhaps in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Anything else we might have to take offline so we don't hold everyone up. So I can see there's a question from Matthew. Thanks, Matthew. Specific Jobkeeper question. If registered and qualified for Jobkeeper, is it mandatory to nominate all employees who would qualify for Jobkeeper? What if the employee doesn't want to be nominated for Jobkeeper? Latest info from Treasury seems to say yes and also no. We have some stood down employees at the moment that have applied for Job Seeker, but have indicated to us that they don't want to return to work. Look, Matthew, I really appreciate your question, and this is an issue as you live and breathe by the sound of it. My understanding, and I've looked for input from Claude and even, Jethro, Victoria, Michael, whoever else is on the call, Shirley's out there, I know as well. My understanding is you don't have to put all of your employees on Jobkeeper, okay? So particularly in the context that you've got, if they're no longer employed or they don't want to be employed and they are on Job Seeker, they cannot also get Jobkeeper, okay? So it will be a matter, and this again is without knowing the mechanics, so don't hold me to it. The ATO, if you register, the ATO will come back to you. Yes, Matthew, you qualify for 30% decline. Which of these employees do you want to nominate? And it'll be a tick and bash process. Claude, is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, pretty much, Kelvin. So if for whatever circumstances the employee has already applied for Job Seeker and is happy to be on the Job Seeker program and doesn't want to be employed further with you, then yes, it's only the employees that are in your employ. As mentioned before, it can't be double dip. You can't get Jobkeeper and Job Seeker. You will get found out. So it's all eligible employees that remain on your payroll as of when you register, pretty much.
Thank you, Claude. Victoria has also chimed in just on the chat and said that the employer can have both. However, Matthew said there's a new fact sheet come out, which is the employer fact sheet from Treasury. Is that what you're referring to? And if you will, and apologies, I have got that handy, but my understanding, again, just rereading this morning, is that you are still entitled. But Matthew, look, if it's okay with you, happy to, if you can email myself or Claude with your details, and we can come back to you and just perhaps answer that offline. So happy to do that, have a chat on the phone. So, and look, you have got it on page 3, third paragraph. Thank you for that. Need to identify eligible employees and must provide a monthly update. Is required to include all eligible employees in the scheme. Matthew, my take on that, and again, it's just through working with governments and Treasury and the ATO, is that you can't pick and choose effectively in the sense of, as an employer, you can't say, well, I like you, I'm going to get that for you, but I'm not going to give it to you over here. If you've got eligible employees and you're receiving the payment, you must pay it to them. Okay, so, but again, if you'll allow me, we'll take that offline if you like, and happy to have a chat. Claude and I can jump on a call with you if you like. Okay, so hopefully that's okay. Um, okay, sorry. So, as I said, Matthew, hopefully happy with that. Otherwise, let's chat afterwards if that's okay. Even if we stay on the line, if you guys are happy, I know some people do have to shoot. Sorry, I am going to jump to the next question from MGAV. So the question is on STP, single touch payroll. Closely held pay is not required to report through STP until 1 July 20. Are you aware if STP will be a Jobkeeper requirement given that date? Also, if you're a business not registered for GST and not doing BAS, are you able to apply for the Cashflow assistance? As a couple of areas to that, with STP, where you are a closely held or you've got closely held payees, you're spot on. You don't need to lodge it. However, that would be in the context of your other employees. You would still be entitled to it, is my understanding. Claude, would you agree with that?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So from that point of view, it doesn't mean you don't qualify. Okay. I think it's important that you do register. They will know that you've got closely held employees, so that's not an issue. It will then similarly be the process of, okay, do you qualify as an employer? Do you have employees that qualify? The second part of your question, if you're a business not registered for GST and not doing BAS, are you able to apply for the cash flow assistance? The cash boost amounts, as they're referring to it, relate to you employing people and withholding tax. So that's the critical element in all of this, or a critical element. However, if you are registered and have an ABN, the majority of this is all being taken care of via lodgement of your activity statement. Okay, so if you're not lodging a business activity statement or an instalment activity statement, I don't believe you will be capable of accessing it. Claude, are you across anything that I'm missing?
Yeah, no, pretty much spot on, Calvin. So with the cash boost, it's all revolves around employing people and withholding tax from their wages. So if you're not employing people, you're not entitled to it.
Okay.
That's the credits against your, because it's all based around the activity statements lodged. In saying that, if you operate as a sole trader and if you qualify again as a business with an ABN and so forth, you are entitled to Jobkeeper. So it's sort of, one relates specifically to employing people and withholding tax on the wages you pay them. Jobkeeper, yes, it does revolve around employing people as well. But like mentioned before, if you're sole trader with no employees, then you're still entitled to Jobkeeper if you meet the eligibility criteria.
Okay, hopefully that's answered your question. Thank you very much for that. I haven't got any other questions popping up. So, however, I have been just replying to a couple of very quick ones. Serena or Claude, could you please let me know, or someone let me know if I've missed any questions?
No,
and again, apologies for going over time, everyone, but it does seem that we've held most people's attention despite my voice training on, so apologies for that. But if there are no other questions, I would like to wrap up. I'm conscious of everyone being able to get finished up before the long weekend. So don't hesitate to drop us an email, either at hello@herebusiness.com.au. Claude's email is simply that, claude@herebusiness.com.au, and mine is kelvin@herebusiness.com.au. We will send out the slideshow. We will send out a recording as well, I believe, Serena, if you did want to go back through anything. Serena's just posted our general email address. Thanks for that, Serena. But other than that, I want to thank you all. I wanted to reaffirm that we are here to help you. However it may be, we will do our best to work with you and assist wherever possible. We do wish you all well. And I also want to wish everyone well for Easter. It'll be the strangest Easter I think most of us have ever had, because we'll all be mostly housebound, no going down south, no going to Rottnest, those sorts of things, as a lot of people do. However, I would encourage all of you to enjoy your time with your friends, well, with your family, sorry, I shouldn't say friends, with your immediate family. Enjoy yourself, get out, the weather's going to be nice, and please have a very happy and safe Easter. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope to speak to you all again soon. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Claude, Victoria, Jethro, Michael, Serena, everyone else from the team that's on board. But most of all, thank you to our clients for working with us and allow us an opportunity to help you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Thursday and have a very happy Easter.
Thank you. Goodbye.